This morning, David asked how many of you aspired to be business leaders, and not very many of you raised your hands. Business is taking a beating today. Business rightly has a black eye. There are many problems in business that hit the headlines every day. I'm thinking here of the global financial crisis, stock markets dropping more than 50% in an 18-month period, leaving people homeless, bankrupt, without their retirement savings. Think about the job prospects in the world today. People who had once expected terrific careers now can't even find jobs. Companies like General Motors not even hiring. You know, it seems like every time you turn on the news, there's an accounting scandal from Enron, which had CIBC in tow, you know, to AIG, HealthSouth, Freddie Mac, you know, the list goes on, Bernie Madoff. You know, many people lay the blame for this kind of failure at the feet of MBAs and at the business schools that train them. I've spent my entire life as a business school professor, and I can tell you, this isn't crazy. When I think back on some of the students that I've taught, you know, the ones that have gotten into unbelievable trouble and caused havoc, such as I've described, you know, I have regrets. I wish I had taught them differently. At the same time, I would like to make the case this afternoon that business schools are also places where we can have an enormous positive impact in the world. There are many reasons to be optimistic, and I am standing before you to make the case that we can change business schools and change the culture of business along with them. So here's the reasons that I'm optimistic. First of all, did you know that 1 out of every 5 undergraduate students entering university come to business programs? 1 out of every 4 graduate students in North America is pursuing an MBA. This is more than twice as many in any other kind of program, more than twice as many in medical schools, any other kind of program like a law school, something like that. So we have enormous amounts of talented students coming to us, coming in our front doors. We also have enormous impact in the world. Our graduates have enormous impact. We have students placed in government, media, health, education, agriculture, service, even a president of the United States graduating with an MBA. MBAs make decisions that impact all of us about, the amount of vacation we get, the job design that we have, whether the subway runs on time, healthcare, the amount of money that goes into research on diseases, scientific organizations, the list goes on and on. So business schools are not only a part of the problem, there's an important opportunity here. The upside is huge. So let me tell you what I want to do to fix business schools. The first thing I want to do is throw out the emphasis on investors. This idea that business is designed and business should generate returns for shareholders primarily, I think is quite problematic. The reason that we are at this place, the reason we feel this way, is because of something called the juristic person rule. Investors are protected from liability, personal liability, for what happens in the companies that they invest in. And this rule was created, society conferred personhood on corporations through this juristic person rule in order to allow us to achieve growth and prosperity. This was originally designed to provide investors with an incentive to pool their monies and allow, great capital investments to occur. The net effect of it, however, through various twists and turns of history, is that we've turned our attention in business schools onto generating returns for investors. What I want us to do is to go back to the original purpose that society conferred this right and responsibility on corporations of personhood, and orient our entire attention toward generating growth and prosperity. See, if we generate prosperity for society, if we create value for society as a whole, for the world as a whole, we will create value for investors. But I want investors in the background and social good and prosperity and value creation in the foreground. So the first thing I want to do is focus our attention on creating value. Now, to create value, to create prosperity, to generate prosperity, we have to take on and tackle the most important problems of our time. We have to turn our research toward the kinds of issues that are raised at TED conferences: climate change, slums, energy, conservation, disease, inequality. We have to worry about the amount of consumption that occurs in the world and make headway on these issues in our research. Now, you're going to tell me, you're going to sort of, quite rightly say to me, wow, Anita, these are public policy problems. These are environmental issues. They're medical problems. They're not something that you have expertise on. And it's true. These are public policy issues and environmental issues, medical issues. But they're also management problems. And we know something about management in business schools. What is management? You've already heard some wonderful stories of great management, today. Management is about seeing a problem through to the end. It's about developing people and capabilities. It's about creating resources, being responsible, and being perseverant, pursuing a long-term goal against short-run incentive problems, really making headway. The problems that come up at TED conferences, such as what I've described, are what we would call wicked problems because they defy analysis. It's hard to make headway. It's difficult to make progress on them, but this is what we have to do. I want to talk very briefly about 3 projects that we've already begun to pursue at the school where I'm appointed to try to make a difference in these areas. The first is on global health, which is my own passion, my own area of research. What we know about global health is that there are enormous shortages, not of human ingenuity or of dedication, but of stuff like medicine and doctors. I am involved through a hospital with which I'm affiliated with a program in the southern Sudan, and we're running clinics out of tents. We don't have equipment. We don't have anything. What we're discovering is that the emphasis in global health that we've inherited on closing the gap between the health systems of the rich and the poor, it's really problematic. As Hans Rosling would say in the video we saw this morning, our system is crap, it doesn't work well. Kieran Murphy, my colleague and friend, has been an enormous inspiration to me. He invents medical devices for trying to get around these problems. The bottom line here is we have to innovate. We can't afford to spend $16 a day on healthcare in North America. Now export this to developing countries where people live on less than $2 a day. This is just not going to work, and we can do better, and we should do better. This is not just a medical problem. This is a management problem, and we're coming up with solutions. We want to use cell phones to try to help create social support so that people who are worried about having contracted a disease, who need medical care, can be embedded in a community of trained workers, people from their villages who can support them in pursuing health care. So we are using technology to implement a management solution in addition to medical solutions. Let me talk about one other project just very briefly in the time that I have. I could go on and on. Alternative energy, migrations. We're working on a lot of problems. But let me speak about one more that I've been engaged with on human trafficking. This is a terrible problem in which business is complicit. And what we've discovered in some of our work, and again, this is a large field-based project that I was involved with through a hospital, we've discovered there's a number of things that we can do to help victims as business people. We can have airline ticket agents and gate, the people that check you in for your air flight, ask you a question that can help screen passengers to identify potential trafficking victims. We can put panic buttons in hotel rooms, and we can monitor migrant workers more closely. This will all make a difference, but the real impact that we can have to try to change the system is in using business analysis and management principles to try to understand the business of trafficking and to disrupt it, to work with law enforcement using IT, financial techniques, and so on, to try to get behind the business of trafficking and make a difference there. So this is not only a law enforcement problem, this is also a management problem. We know something about this, and we should be working on these issues in business schools. Alternative energy, let me just mention it briefly, I can't help myself. You know, I was very happy today when I arrived. I ran into 4 of my former students who are here at this conference today, and it's very inspiring to me. One of them involved in alternative energy, electric cars, turbine generators. These are not going to work, these technologies, without, on the one hand, for electric cars, recharging stations, on the other hand, for wind turbine generators, a fair process for figuring out where to put them because they're very loud, very disruptive. And these are management problems, not only energy and engineering problems, and we can help there. So the second thing I want to do is change the way we do research. The third is probably the most important. I want to change the way we teach. Gee whiz, I wish I had all day with the students who are here from IB because I could learn so much from you, I know, about how to do this. But let me just give you a couple of ideas that I have. What I want to do is unpack financial returns to investors and get back to these basic ideas about management. I want to teach history. I want to ask my students to reflect on the decision that was made at Bertelsmann in the 1930s in Germany to print propaganda for the Third Reich. You know, we've discussed already today Henry Ford. Henry Ford was a manufacturing genius, but he also had his byline on anti-Semitic editorials that were published in the newspaper. There were other many terrifying examples that we can look at from the perspective of business history. And we see them today, decisions that people made in quite a different light than they were made contemporaneously, you know, and the circumstances that surrounded the decision maker. You know, I want to ask my students, you know, would they market to small children, you know, the goods that they have to sell? I want them to reflect on what it was like to work in a factory at the turn of the century. And I want them to think about, you know, how they will be judged 100 years from now by the students of history sometime in the future. Right now, we teach ethics with short courses that allow our students to take in this impression that ethics is a separate subject from everything else we do. You know, that ethics doesn't permeate, you know, every decision that they make, and this drives me nuts. I think it allows our students to zone out, you know, and to think that ethics is a separate subject from finance or from marketing or something like that, and I just want to get rid of that. The second thing, let me put it this way, the only thing I have time to talk about now is some action. I would like our students to be involved in action projects the whole time they're in university. You know, something they're passionate about. I want them to use the entire time they're with us to work on them. I did this with a group of students, you know, at about 20 students in a pilot project about 3 or 4 years ago. And what we did was, these were MBAs and also public health students. We worked together to profile innovative organizations in health. Let me tell you about one of them here, Turma do Bem, which is just down here on the lower left of the screen. This is an organization in Brazil that provides dentistry services for free using government money to high school students. And the program gets these students into the habit of going to the dentist when they're young so that their dentistry problems are not very significant, usually at a young age. They get in the habit. This benefits everybody. Good health is tied to good dentistry. It's easier to get a job if you have good dental health. The government benefits because they don't have to bail out people later in life with much more severe health problems. And the dentists benefit by getting, the dentists get lifelong patients. You know, once you develop a relationship with a dentist, you tend to go back for preventative dental care through life. We should have this program in Canada. I think it's a fantastic idea. This is not about whitening teeth. This is about managing more effectively. This is what we should be teaching about in business schools. All right. In conclusion, let me just say that I want to transform business schools, the culture of business schools, and through business schools, transform the culture of business. I think our students have awesome potential to change the way we work in government, in NGOs, in philanthropic organizations, in all aspects of life. I want to support our students as managers and leaders, not business people. I want us to become schools of management, not schools of business. No more financial engineering, or at least not very much. Let's focus, only the good kind of financial engineering, let's focus on being great managers and leaders. Second, I think the argument that I've made this afternoon applies equally well to all professional schools. Let's focus on the outcomes, the dreams we want to achieve, what we want to try to accomplish together, rather than the tools that we have. So what does this mean? As TEDxIBYork said this morning, and Kieran, you suggested as well in your remarks, let's have medical schools focus less on medicine and more on health. Let's have law schools focus more on civil society and less on the law. The law is a tool to achieve civil society. Let's have schools of education focusing on learning rather than the institutional environment in which education occurs. So I want to change all of professional education en route here. So here's the invitation that I would offer to those of you, especially who are students here in the IB program. Come to us in schools of management. We're getting our act together. We want to support you in being your best selves as women and men of integrity. Please bring your best ideas, your dreams, your focus to us. We want to show you what we know about unleashing the awesome power of human potential to do what society needs us to do, which is to deliver prosperity for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
well
you.
done.